What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. We got Rob from the Punk Gods. Don't forget to go check out his channel, people. We're talking about a very, very important subject today. This is the top 5 or so punk rock albums turning 25 years old this year. 1998 is a very important year in my life. It's a very important year in punk rock. I'll get to some of the reasons why here in a little bit. But what's up, Rob? How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Got a little bit different positioning here on the and now messing it up as I am praising it, but we are still good. Looking forward to doing this because 1998, as you said, I think it's kind of the nexus of the stuff both of us like. It's kind of like the cross peak of both of it, like meeting up.
Yeah, it's very funny because when we started talking about it, I knew there was going to be at least a couple that we had that were crossed over, but I knew there was going to be some stuff that you brought up that I didn't really care about, and vice versa. That's not the right words. That I didn't put as high on my list, and vice versa. Because I think almost any album that you bring up, I'm probably going to go, yeah, it's a good album. Mm-hmm. But the ones that are my favorite of the year, there's only 2 that we really have to we both go, yes, that one. And so
and I think that's why this list is so informal, because there's a lot of agreement, but it's hard to kind of rank. Like, it would be a really hard work to do this as a straight like ranking video, like when you did your Rancid video.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is that towards the end of the video, I'll probably just have us each spout off our top 5 so that we can clip them out just for short purposes. But I mean, this is pretty much just the top punk rock albums of 1998. And so let's get it started with you go ahead and go first. You throw me one that you picked that I wouldn't have thought of.
Okay.
Or that I didn't bring up.
I'm gonna go with the debut album by both of our favorite bands, ALKALINE TRIO, with God Damn It in 1998. I love this album. Why was it not on your list? I'm curious.
Because I don't use that word.
Oh.
That's the only reason.
Well,
you know,
good reason.
I contemplated putting it on there, and I was just like, I don't want to keep repeating that all day. And it's not because I'm better than anybody. It's not because I go to church all the time. I don't. It's a word that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. My mom, I think it's because my mom is really bothered by that. And so I grew up being really bothered by it. And so it's a word that I think it's pretty funny that people will use that as all day long, but they'll be like, oh, don't say the F word around me. I think that's crazy to me. I think that's way more offensive. It's a religious word and it's a slanderous word. And so my personal opinion, have I said it before? Yes. Do I say it sometimes? Of course I do. I'm an idiot. But I try not to say it as often as I possibly can, which makes ALKALINE TRIO, being one of my favorite bands, really, really, really weird. Because they are like a top 3 band for me, maybe top 5 at the worst.
Yeah, and they stick out in the bands that you like, too. Like, that's the one I wouldn't have pinned on you of all the bands that you like for other reasons other than what you just told me.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
I love that band, dude. I love them so much, bro. I got Hopeless Romantic tattooed on my knuckles, bro. Come on now.
Well, that's
needs to get redone. Do what?
That's the Bouncing Souls.
I'm just saying, I'm emo, bro. Okay. I'm like a little whiny baby with swoopy hair. But it's all thin, okay? So I'm not cool. So and I'm ugly, bro. What are we doing here?
We're talking about albums that are 25 years old. That's what people do look like us.
I'm gonna pull that up on my thing. You talk to me about it for a minute, because I'll be honest, dude. That is like one of my least favorite ALKALINE TRIO albums.
Oh wow! See, and
it's not because of the name of it either. It's just not one I care about.
Yeah, and I really dug into it, especially over the years. I really like it, and because I think a lot of people are probably like you, where they really prefer that creamy middle of Crimson and Good Morning and stuff like that. And I got no problem with that, but I actually lean towards like version 1 of ALKALINE TRIO over version 2. And I think this was, being like their debut, kind of similar to how we were talking about Cheshire Cat a couple weeks ago. This is kind of the Cheshire Cat for the gothic Blink-182.
That's the thing, is that how do I say this? Like, I mean, yeah, like their third album is where I really start.
With the Infirmary or
Good Morning.
Fire.
No, okay. Infirmary. I'm tripping.
Yeah,
Infirmary,
which I think is their best album, to be honest with you. Right?
Man, yeah. I mean, I disagree with that, but I mean that's a very subjective statement. So I mean, whether I disagree or not,
most people don't hold that opinion. No.
Oh, really?
Most people, it's Good Morning and Crimson. Like that's the debate for most people. I think.
So Good Morning is from Here to the Infirmary is
Private Eye,
a top album
yeah.
for me from them. It's a good one, like a top 3, probably top 5 at the worst. But man, the fact that they have enough albums, we can do like a top 3, top 5 is pretty cool.
That's a podcast down the road for us, by the way.
Yeah, dude. And but like I do think it's a very strong record. But I think that Good Morning is when they really hit their like, oh shh, and they're just that's when they became who people mostly know as Alkaline Trio. Kind of like most people would probably consider. Actually, this is a very good parallel to like Dude Ranch and Enema.
These bands are mirror images of each other. Like again, I think their debut album, because for the one reason other than what you just stated, why people don't like this album is I think it does kind of sound like crap. It sounds like it's recorded in a basement as a lot.
That's what I don't like about it, but I like it better now than I used to.
I just think the songs themselves are so good. Now, something that kind of hurts it too is there's a lot of different versions of these songs on like official releases. So it's kind of hard to keep it in your head, like, oh, this is the one. So there's versions that like I think like, oh, I like them because they're goddammit songs, but actually like I actually like the version on the EP better or somewhere else.
Yeah,
that's the case with a lot of these ones. And it's a little long too. That's the other thing. Even though 34 minutes doesn't seem super long, it drags.
It is for that kind of it is for that kind of band, that kind of music, that kind of song. It is.
Well, and they have the similar. It's funny. They have the similar problem that I think Blink had on the early. But Blink never got rid of that overindulgence. Blink just found different ways to do it. Both bands had it. Like you're a pop punk band, you really don't need like a breakdown that lasts 30 seconds, to close out the song.
Yeah, they're very similar bands, and the album's good. Let me look at the songs on it real quick. Let me see if I can come up with a couple that I really love.
And while you're doing it, like I just think of there was a good like the deep and dark ones like Messages from Kathleen and Enjoy Your Day, and then of course I love Trouble Breathing. I mean I love all these songs. Clavicle, like the kind of ironic love song. San Francisco, Cop. They open up with Cringe, which is always like a great opener from them, and then Nose Over Tail, which I think is one of their classic like pop punk bouncing songs.
I may go back and revisit this one because I didn't even listen to it this week because I was like, nah, that wouldn't be on my list. I need to go back and revisit that album because, well, it's Alkaline Trio. I love that band, dude. And I like. Here's the thing, dude. That phrase bothers me enough to where when I got my limited edition Alkaline Trio represses recently, I took both copies of that to the store. I don't even want it.
Oh, wow.
Like it's just a weird thing, man. I know it's strange, but people can say whatever they want about it. I don't really care. But it's just a thing that I see it. And I go, why? Like just why? It's but it is a good album, man. It's a good album.
Yeah, and that would be my only caution to you is again, I can't tell you if I actually know these versions of those songs.
Isn't that weird though? It's so strange.
It's so unique to punk rock. Like we think of like the Misfits. Like if you can actually do a Misfits discography and tell me all the ones, like people can, but it's crazy that you have to do that because they're all recorded on EPs that melted literally as they're recording them and like so much weird stuff with like punk rock. And it's funny how like this is 1998 though, and this stuff is still kind of happening.
What was it that Green Day just dropped this 30th anniversary of Dookie?
Yeah, what was that? I didn't dig into it. Like what?
Well, it's like a 6 LP 4 CD extreme box set thing, right? But today they dropped a version of a song. Hold on, I'm looking it up real quick.
Yeah, I saw that as a notification, but I didn't know.
Yeah, they dropped this whole huge box set celebrating that record. Which I mean, if you're gonna celebrate one, it would be that one. It was a basket case demo, and it's like this is the kind of stuff that I like about punk rock because that basket case demo is an entirely different song than what we know of as basket case. Like it sounds like it in rhythm and melody. That's it, bro. The lyrics are all different, and
that exists, like you're saying, all over punk rock because there's
that's what I mean. That's one of the things I love about the genre.
I mean, think about Black Flag. Like there's whole lineages of different singers. You know what I mean? And doing like the same songs, and then there's like one guy is in both is in that band and in the Circle Jerks, and they both have the same song because he's like, I wrote it. That's
crazy. Is weird. That is kind of awesome though. I wrote it. I can do what I want with it.
And that's why I always say punk, the strength in punk is the songs, because like some of the best Misfits songs were done by other people. And that's just what punk rock, you kind of like almost the songs are almost they almost transition, I think.
Well, look at Radio, written by Billy Joe and Tim. One of the Rancid's best songs, or most popular anyways.
And I just in every NoFX set. Every NoFX set, they play Radio as their cool down
that's so dope
in their ska spot,
And then I just put up a Operation Ivy I think it was Unity or Knowledge. I can't remember which, but it was like a 1988 live demo version of one of those two songs, and it was different and it was awesome. But yeah, this is something that is definitely unique to punk rock. And I for one really appreciate
I
it.
watched a Green Day set the other day, and they did Knowledge, and like a Green Day set from this summer, and they worked Knowledge into their set.
That's awesome.
Isn't
That
that
band
cool?
is Operation Ivy speaking about. That is a important band.
Resonant, yeah, absolutely. So everything we're talking about, always.
Yeah, dude. So Alkaline Trio. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we move on?
No, great album. Get the 2008 like 10-year repress of it. It's got like a bunch of other versions and a cool DVD that's like got
Is that a CD or a piece of vinyl?
The version I have was a CD. So it was back in
CD that comes with all the extra stuff on it.
Yeah, and it's
hard to
got
do that with vinyl.
Yeah, it's got the album of the DVD, and the DVD is on like YouTube and stuff. But I like having it, you know what I mean, and watching it.
Yeah.
And
we're nerdy collector dorks.
It's got, if I remember correctly, if this is the right one, it's got versions of all these songs, like live footage that they have at like the Fireside there in Chicago.
Okay.
You know, sound quality is not great, but it's just cool to see it, those songs in their infancy. And then they do a lot of talking around the songs where
I like that.
Like Matt talks
Banter
about like,
and stuff.
What the, like in the modern context in 2008, what those songs were about and stuff.
Nice.
Which is really, if you're like a hardcore Trio fan. And I don't know if there's a mini doc on there of the band too that might be on the Remains DVD. I get those two mixed up because of
the Remains is probably my favorite Alkaline Trio album.
I own so much. Yeah, and it's funny because that's all the leftovers from this era, but
yeah,
it's recorded so well.
Yeah, I love
the spirit of these kind of songs, but in that Crimson, you know, just deep tight band. Yeah, I have so much Alkaline Trio like spare crap, including, you know, everyone's got tattoos of Alkaline Trio. I've got tattoos. I've seen so many DVDs and just extra stuff of Alkaline
Trio. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's funny is they worked with one of the bands I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, which is funny because it's a band that's fairly obscure. You know what? I'll just go ahead.
There you go.
I'll go ahead and bring that band up first. Then I was going to do a different band, but we'll go with this one. One of the other top albums of 1998, in my opinion, top 5 punk rock album of 1998 is One Man Army, Dead End Stories. Boy, I tell you what, man. So first off, I have, out of all the punk rock shirts I've ever owned in my entire life, the only one that I've ever been sad to not be able to replace and figure out how is my One Man Army shirt. It was a black t-shirt with the yellow print, and it had a pair of fists on it that said One Man Army, and then it had San Francisco and these leaves going across the bottom of it. I just found the image like the other day. As a matter of fact, I'll show you where I found it. So I did that podcast with old buddy from Oil, that Oi band, and he was in a band called Randoms. They did a split, which I found and bought, with Dropkick Murphys, Working Stiffs, and freaking One Man Army, and that image is in this artwork, and that way I can rip that image and make my own shirt now, and I am going to do that. This image right there. That's one of my top 5 shirts of all time that I've ever owned, and I'm so ecstatic that I can make that back. So Dead End Stories is one of those albums that I would imagine you probably don't have a lot of information on, and you probably didn't do a lot of listening to that one, huh?
No. I'm looking it up right now. It doesn't have the One Man Army songs. I think it's the album that came up with like next after this would be the one that there was always that.
Yeah, this is the middle for them. This is the middle for them. So they had, let's see, they had Rumors.
This is when they had the video, because it was the video, that one video that
I've never been a video guy, so I couldn't tell you.
What's the song? Another Night. I think was on the punk broadcasting comp, like a video comp that was available back in the day, like 1998. That's why I found for One Man Army. It's all black and white, and it's like oh shoot, it's like Sid Vicious doing like pop music, and it looks cool.
It really, really is, dude. And they so okay, Women Army. I'm trying to find. I just had their album somewhere around here. I wish I could figure out where they're at so I could just look at them and be able to figure this out faster. But anyways, this is their middle album. They had Dead End Stories. They had Last Word Spoken, and they had Can't remember the other one. Anyhow, they were discovered by Billy Joe Armstrong. Like they were not like, yes, they were touring and playing music and stuff before he found out who they were, but their first album was released on ALKALINE Records, which is his label. Anyways, they're more of like this rock and roll punk rock. He's got this vocal styling, man. This album, dude, is so good. Every single song
he
on it
sings like a smoker. It's weird. Would you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know how
yeah, it's
like Tim Armstrong has a gruff voice, like when he's not singing, but like this guy sings with that voice, but actually sings, but has that like tone of that. But it's not as like it's like if the Casualties guy, if like Jorge had like started to sing, but it would
it's very much a gravelly singing voice, but it's melodic, it's poppy, but it's still rough and punk rock and roll. And every single song is good. There's no bad songs on it. I don't know that there's one that sticks out as like a single to me because every song on it is really good. But they have 3 albums that are full lengths. Every single song on every single album is good. So every year that they pop up with like a marquee year for them, I'm going to bring them up because their albums need more attention. They're not streaming on Spotify. I think one is. I don't think it's this one.
That's crazy, by the way.
It is absolutely nuts. It drives me bonkers, dude, because
they are like dead to me until you bring them up. Oh, I never consider them. And they were on every comp back in the day. I'm bringing them up on video comps. They were on, like, they were not that uncommon. And then they just like disappeared. And, like, they just don't exist.
It was Rumors and Headlines was their first album. Rumors and Headlines. Oh, so good.
Yeah, no, that's the one. Okay, that's the one that had SOS. Okay.
Yes, bro. Oh man, this band is so good, bro. I love this band.
And it's like true punk rock. It's almost like that 50s style. It's what Green Day. It's what Green Day would have been if Rancid was the one that broke. Like seriously, that's exactly what like if Green Day would have stayed in the streets. It's kind of what that would have been.
Yeah. So this is what. So that's what. And it's funny that he is the one that found them and was like, I love this. But like I saw them play at a little bitty place. It was like a downstairs of a venue, so they had like a Fitzgerald's was like a upstairs place, but then downstairs they had Fitz down, and you could go downstairs. And it was like this little crummy bar and this little tiny stage. It was like 12 inches off the ground, and I saw them play there with the Necromantics, and it was life changing, dude. It was one of the best shows I've ever been to. And 1998 is an important year for a lot of reasons. I'll get to that after we get done with talking about the albums, but they did a split with ALKALINE Trio that's also really, really good. And it's weird that these bands don't sound nothing alike, but then when you really get past the vocals, they kind of do. Like, get past the vocals and the lyrical content and just listen to the melodies and listen to like the guitar tone. You're like, oh crap. They just, it's like these two bands started the same kind of band from different parts of the country. And one of them was a little more emo. One of them was a little more on the street. And it's like, oh, and then you cross them over. Oh, they got a split record. Of course they do.
That's what, because it worked as a split, like truly where you listen to it from beginning to end. I love that thing. Because like,
didn't ALKALINE do one with Hot Water Music as well?
Yeah, and that's like I think a little more infamous because they're such good friends. In real, not to say that One Man Army and ALKALINE Trio.
Yeah, no. I think they're all friendly, but
yeah, but like those bands tour together like a lot. Where One Man Army and ALKALINE Trio is more of like people like you and I who kind of listen to all the different flavors of punk. You pick that up because I think of it primarily as an ALKALINE Trio album because that's got like some legendary songs before they came out on Remains. All those songs eventually got to Remain. So I think a lot of people put like Sadie and some of those really great songs on Remains. But the One Man Army songs that was part of the listening experience. And unlike a lot of splits, it was hi-fi. Like it sounded amazing.
Right, you get a lot of split records that don't sound amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. They're giving stuff, right? Like they're kind of throwing stuff. Bands throw stuff together, throw stuff at you. What do you got there?
No, I'm just saying I can't wait to listen to the split. The one I was showing you a minute ago.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to this thing. I haven't had a chance to fool with it yet.
Yeah.
Because it's a song that I'm not familiar with called "Down the Block." I don't know that one. Well, at least not by name. But yeah, man, I could talk about this band all day long, dude. I love One Man Army. They're a very important band to me. They're one that, they literally fall in my top 10 and probably my top 5. Every single song I've ever heard by them is good enough to where I go, yeah, I got to put that one on a playlist somewhere. And so, let me see about this one. Let me look at while we're talking about it, what are your favorite songs off that ALKALINE Trio? That's what I meant to ask you and I totally forgot.
Let me pull the list back up. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing with One Man Army. My memory's so bad.
Well, it's
Because this,
okay.
oh, so many good songs.
All right. So if I give you, let me give you like a top 3.
Yeah, that's
I'll
fine.
I'll go with Trouble Breathing.
That is off this album. The Split song is on this one. I was like, I know that name. It is on this record.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Let's go with Nose Over Tail.
Good song. There you go.
And then one more sleeper, San Francisco.
Okay, yeah.
That's like
bro. I mean,
early emo, like what the emo band they would become. Kind of that's where they first showcased
right.
it, I think, right there.
There's not bad songs on that album either, to be honest.
Well, then people associate this with that other EP, like we talked about, that like a Bright Yellow EP and stuff too, that has a lot of these songs on it. So some people consider that like Alkaline Trio #1.
That's semantics.
Yeah,
I don't have the time to get into all that with people most of the time.
right.
The top songs on Dead End Stories for me, they'll never call it quits. It's track 3 is I mean, it's really hard to pick out 3 songs, to be honest with you. But track 3, that they'll never call it quits, is a kind of a standout song. Fate at 14, which is number 7, also kind of a standout song. But the one is the title track, dude. Number 1, right when it opens up, Another Dead End Story. That song rips, dude. Like, you listen to that song and tell me that you don't want to listen to the rest of the record, and I'm going to ask, explain that to me, please. Like, because that song rips, dude. I love that song. And I might do a video on that song, dude. Go into what it means to me, because when I first heard it, I remember exactly where I was when I first heard that song for the very first time, dude. It was after 1998. I didn't discover this band then. I discovered them whenever the last album that they had came out. It was like 2000, 2001. And then I went back and got their other records. I think because my brother and I rode around in his truck. But when I first heard this song, I was in a pickup truck that didn't have brakes. And that's why I remember it, because I had to use the e-brake, and I'd drive it to like the store, and then I'd get like, I'd Yahoo some beer and drive off with this. Oh, dude, it was so, I don't know what am I doing, bro? But I remember this album, and I remember listening to it in the truck, idling in park. And my friends be like, hey, you want to go do whatever it was? And I was like, bro, I can't drive this truck that far, man. If I drive it more than a block away, I'm going to get into a wreck and kill somebody. And then, ultimately I did. But still, like, stupid idea. Great song, great album. Anyways.
Being from rural America is fun, isn't it?
Man, I was in Houston, Texas. Like, I was on Westheimer. If anybody from Houston, I was on Westheimer in like Beltway 8 area when I did this. Just, smart, real smart. Spring Branch, bro, in the city. Let's move on. What do we got next from you, sir?
All right. This one I don't think will be on your list, but definitely needs to be on one of mine. It's Let's Talk About Feelings by Lagwagon.
I don't even like Lagwagon.
I figured you didn't. Like, that's what I do. I'd like, no. Lagwagon's getting their space on this list. We are not.
And I don't. Here's the thing: is I don't dislike them either. When they come on, I'm chill. I just don't like buy their music. I don't. You know what? I will go listen to it and then do some deep diving on it. And do a record review for this one. I'll review this record because this one we're talking about. What's it called again?
Let's Talk About Feelings.
Yeah, the only album that I've heard that I remember listening to by them was the one with the redneck dude on the front. That's Lagwagon, right? The cowboy guy?
Yeah, Haas.
Lagwagon?
Haas, yes.
Oh, yeah, Haas.
That's their other, quote, best album, which there's like
that's the one that I remember buying.
My channel loves Lagwagon. Like, my Lagwagon streams, like this year for May 16th, which is their most famous song. It was fell on a Tuesday when I was doing stream. So we did the Happy Lagwagon Day stream. Okay. And we played this. We played a bunch of Lagwagon songs, but played the song like 9 different versions of the song May 16th on May 16th. It was
that sounds awesome.
Did not talk about doing no prep. Did no prep for that stream. Just found the songs and we just.
That's the way you do it.
Everyone that came in, Happy Lagwagon Day. That was like the most fun I ever had streaming. So it's got that song, which I think is the kind of it's their cornerstone song. Other people might disagree because there's about there's a few of them, and I think Lagwagon for a lot of people is probably pretty top heavy as far as their songs, like the good songs, like the songs from Haas, the songs from this one.
That's what I remember. I remember them having like really good songs and then a lot of filler.
Like a good Warped Tour band, I think a lot of people think of them as, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, because the criticism I would have of them is their albums are a little lengthy sometimes. So it's just if they would have trimmed a little bit of fat, it wouldn't feel like they have so much filler. It's just they have a lot of volume. Except if I look here on this, you have a 12 song set list, which isn't crazy, and 25 minutes, and this one's a little bit tighter though. This is widely considered, I think, their poppiest album in their thing. Like if they ever make a list of like top 25 pop punk albums, this tends to get on that list. Classified like next to like the Good Charlottes and the Blink-182s. Like it tends to receive that kind of billing, although they were a Fat Records band and not a band of that kind of stature at the time. Though, like they were touring and Blink was supporting them, like in 1998. Like around
that's
this
so
time period.
weird,
isn't that wild? Yeah.
So the other day I bought some inventory for the store, and I tend to buy a lot of pop punk stuff that I don't necessarily listen to, like Mest and stuff like that. That I don't dislike it, but I don't listen to it very much.
Yeah,
for the store, because there's no telling what people are going to walk in there looking for. And I found a big stack of pop punk and like metalcore stuff at this guy's record shop, and he's like, "Man, I'll give you a good deal if you buy all of it." So I bought all of it, and one of them was Good Charlotte, the one with like the old English script on the front with like the drawing of like the little birds and like the.
Oh, that like red album, is it? It's like
no, it had like the little things.
Oh no,
little things.
The first one, yeah.
Bro. Yeah. I tried to listen to that record, man. That is hot ass, dude. Good Charlotte sucks. That band is not pop punk. That band is not punk rock. That band's Fat Mike, dude. We got to talk when I come to the Punk Rock Museum, my guy. How in the world is that considered pop punk, dude? That music is terrible, man. Good Charlotte sucks, bro. I need to clip this out and make a short out of it, dude. Good Charlotte is ass. All right, moving on.
The Punk Gods does not endorse those statements.
No?
No.
I'd like to know.
I actually, so polarizing as hell. Like, I want to do that stream. Like, you know what? I'll do a stream. You can give me a super chat to roast me, and that's what I'll do in a stream, because I'll defend Good Charlotte. And like, all their criticisms are valid, but I kind of can't quit them. And I haven't been able to for like 22 years.
What do you like about them?
I don't know.
Terrible.
I like their songs. I like their songs.
So like they got like a couple of songs. Like I figured it out. Usually with bands like that, the hits kind of suck, and then the rest of the album is pretty good. It's like the opposite. Like the hits are like pretty catchy, and I'm like, oh, I remember this song. And then the rest of the album just was big chunks of dick, bro.
So the second album in particular, not the one you're talking about, the one right after that they really blew up on. In my opinion, that is the first ever pop punk record made for children, for teenage, like specifically, not
for 14-year-olds and shit.
Yes, but made for like almost at grade level, we would say. You know what I mean? And not that it's not.
What songs were on that?
So that's like Anthem, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Young and Hopeless.
Just awful music.
The album. So that first album, people didn't really care about. It was just another pop. It was no different than like a Phoenix TX record. You know what I mean? People didn't really have an opinion.
It doesn't sound like pop punk at all.
But let me give you my thesis on them. And I said this before, and other people have said it. But so in my opinion, like Green Day and even Blink, those are punk rock bands that sound very poppy, that have a poppy side to them. They are punk rock bands that went pop, basically, or that have a lot of pop in them. Whereas a band like Good Charlotte, at their heart, I think is just a pop band that is into punk rock, and that's one of the genres of music they like. And it's the primary genre where they kind of present their pop music through.
And so this is where we disagree, because that's just a pop band, bro. Because pop punk is a genre, and it does not include bands like Good Charlotte. It's a genre that does not include people like Avril Lavigne, and
that's
in my
fair.
Opinion. In my opinion,
I think that's fair because I think they are more, and I don't know why I do this. I would say they are more. I don't disagree that them and Avril and Paramore and all those ones that they're pop bands that do punk, that have a punk output. I can agree.
Punk rock or something.
Yeah, exactly. They approximate Pink. Do that. They approximate punk, and I do like a lot of it, but it's not.
Bro, I would say Pink is more punk rock than all of those bands. Pink is more punk than Good Charlotte. She's more punk than Avril. She's definitely more punk than Paramore.
See, and
Fuck
on the spectrum,
Paramore.
I would just have Good Charlotte closer to punk than any of those bands. Maybe because they were a band. Maybe that's what it is to me. They
Yeah.
were a band. They did go on tour. My buddies saw them at like the same venue that I saw like Rancid and everyone else at. When they blew up in a completely different direction, whereas like all their other peers basically always set like kind of stayed punk bands that just got big. They did kind of embraced it and on like a level that I don't think any other band really ever did. And now I think they're primarily considered songwriters because they write music for like One Direction and all these other people while still doing the Good Charlotte thing. And they're pop people. They're more of the Oasis guys than they are like Tim and Lars.
So my one thing that I will say, because I want to get back on Lagwagon in a second.
Yeah.
My one thing that I will say is that I do think as people, they seem like cool dudes. Like I wasn't talking about them as people. I don't know them, so I can't judge them or comment on them otherwise. But based on the fact that I know who they hung out with, I feel like they're probably pretty cool people. So I just want to clarify that I'm talking strictly about their music. I don't care about their clothing. I don't care about just their music. And I just don't get it, man.
Real like famous punk rockers like the We Say Have Cred all endorse them as far as like dudes.
It's weird, isn't it?
Saying. Yeah, it's kind of
funny.
Gotta
be cool. They got to be cool dudes then. And I mean, I don't doubt for a second that they listen to real punk rock.
No,
I just think that they were giving it up. See, this is a good example of like, do I think it's okay to sell out? Yes. Good Charlotte they get to do whatever they want for the rest of their lives. And they did it by making music that was accessible to millions of people that ultimately, whether or not I like them is irrelevant because they did get people into them, which got them into Blink, which got them into Green Day, which got them into Rancid.
Benji wears this shirt in a video, and I'm sure someone discovered NoFX because Benji wore that in a video.
My distaste for their music is because I'm a curmudgeonly old fart head. But they are a gateway band, and I do appreciate them for that. I'd rather listen to them than MGK. I don't know if that's true, actually. Ooh, that's a debate. That's a topic. Let's move on to let's go back to Lagwagon.
What a clip we just created. By the way.
Yeah, bro.
All right. So on this album, that's what you're gonna ask me. Okay. So there's a run here at the end between Messengers, The Kids Are All. Well, let's just start with The Kids Are All Wrong, which is a very short one, into May 16th, which again is the cornerstone, which crazy. It's the number 11 song on the album. When does that ever happen? It's pretty rare.
Usually it's way before that.
Right. Into Owen Meany to close out the album, which just the one thing about Lagwagon is they definitely have the thing that we always talk about, and maybe because like Joey Cape and Tim Armstrong are both also producers, they know how to build albums as like almost like a book or a narrative that they weave through. So the openers and closers always have a uniqueness to them, and both those bands do that. And I think because they both kind of learn from the same trees, that's why they do it.
I have a feeling that after this, I'm going to go listen to them and then have a lot more respect for them and wish I had liked them more back then. Because based on what you're telling me, it's all stuff that I appreciate about music.
If you don't like them, it'll be this album that you don't like though. Also, so that's what I would say.
Of course. Why?
Well, because this is their most accessible album. Yeah, and it's the thing about them is like kind of similar to Blink-182 in that they're a little bit of a jokey band. So sometimes they get a little jokey, and it's like it's not that it was not funny the first time. It just you hear it so many times it kind of loses its sting. Now, one thing about this album, which became I think a staple for how influential this album was to a lot of that stuff we were just talking about, the really famous stuff, is this is one of the first times where you have a lot of like clipped in drops from like movies. There's like 4 of them on this album. And I feel like 1998, that quite hadn't happened yet till you got to like the early 2000s. And especially like pop punk bands were like doing that all the time.
Dude, hardcore bands, that's all we did, bro. Every hardcore band I was ever a part of and ever knew, we were all looking for the perfect clip. I had a freaking band called Everybody Freeze. I had at the ready 3 different versions of somebody kicking a door and going, "Everybody freeze." That was our intro to our thing, bro. Like everybody had the sound clip, bro. You had to have the sound clip.
Yeah, and there's multiple ones in here. You know, my first example might be on the is it Robin in the Hood, the one EP that Sublime put out. And there's a lot of like old like 70s
weird
TV like stuff I don't know what, like you have to be in the Sublime state of mind to fully appreciate.
Shout out to Sublime for being awesome.
They come up every week on the podcast organically. We don't plan this, and
it's really weird.
That's a testament to them. Again, I think this is what underground Blink-182 would sound like. That's basically what Lagwagon is in this era. It's like
I'm listening still.
they're not as charming as like the Blinks and the Green Days and those guys, so they never could become that level of pop star, but they were very much peers with those bands at that same time. And it's not to say one is necessarily better than the other, they just didn't have the specific things that made those bands like those sort of intangibles, although they are everlasting. Like I saw them like about a year ago. A lot of people have a problem with Joey Cape's voice nowadays. It's very shot because he sang so high pitched back in this era and didn't know how to sing as well. So his voice is just gravelly and gruff. I still think it's an amazing experience live, but there's a little bit of a dividing line currently.
I probably would like it better all gravelly and stuff. That's the kind of vocals I tend to really enjoy.
But yeah, I mean, check it out, and then like I would say, go in reverse, go from there, and then go back in albums.
I can do that,
and you can get that. And then 2003's Blaze, I think is really good too, as like a tack on. And that's up to 2003 is probably like the classic era, and then people cite like his voice kind of going out after that. So it's all worth it, but there is the different eras, but they're 90s run. Another one of these bands, and a lot of what we're talking about today is, I think a lot of what you and I like a lot of different stuff, but all the stuff we like tended to peak right around this time. And so we're
from like
seeing that surge of
97
momentum
to like 2004. There's like a 7-year period where these bands that's like the prime years for my music. That's
like they're all hot. Like everything both you and I like, even the difference that we like, it was all pretty good in this time period. It was all pretty happening.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about Lagwagon before we move on?
No.
Okay. So my next album, dude. So this is one that I knew you weren't going to have on your list. Not because you don't like the band, but because this is exactly the kind of music I listen to this day. I still listen to this almost every day. I listen to this record almost every week. So we're going to go with The Unseen, Lower Class Crucifixion, Boston hardcore street punk band.
Like I didn't own this album.
Do what?
Like I didn't own this album.
I would assume you did, sir. You better have.
All right.
No, I just knew this is more my speed than yours. It starts to get more and more towards I go really crust with the stuff I listen to.
Well, and to be fair,
this is probably the crossroad for us where we start to turn it.
When I think of Unseen, stuff. I think of 2001, 2003, 2005 more so than this album. I had it because I like The Unseen. You know what I mean? And I did listen to it quite a bit. But also the comps, they had a lot of stuff on comps and their own anthologies they would put out in this time period.
Whenever they signed to Hellcat and did the State of Discontent, see, I don't think that a lot of people would have even known about them if they hadn't signed to Hellcat. Like, do you think you would have been a fan of them?
I knew them before because I knew about the Casualties, and I found them through the Casualties.
That makes sense.
And I don't remember if
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't remember if they were on Side One Dummy, but I want to say they maybe did, or there was.
I can't remember.
The Casualties definitely were. And I found them through the Casualties. I found through against comps with like with Devochikaz and all kinds of like cool stuff. Like
okay, so I've got
the Unseen really always stood out for me because they were like, I don't know, I always liked them a little bit better than I think I might like them better than the Casualties, although I'm more knowledgeable on the Casualties.
I like them better than the Casualties, but not by a lot. I like the Casualties quite a bit. But oh man, they were on AF Records for a time. They were on BYO. They were on VML. They were on a bunch of different labels. Lower Class Crucifixion was, I think, their first record.
I want to say it was.
And this record is amazing, dude. Plus, they've got a sick cover of Poison. Every Rose Has Its Thorn. It's like the best version of that song you can get. They did Michael Jackson on the other one. They did on So This Is Freedom. They did Beat It, and it's. Bro, also better than Michael Jackson's version. The Unseen is one of those bands that, like, when I discovered them, I felt like I had finally figured out what real punk rock was. I was like, oh, these guys are like, because at the time when I discovered The Unseen, the Casualties already were getting that stigma of being posers. Like they were already being called posers because they got to a degree of popularity that was uncool.
When would that have been though? I'm just curious.
Oh, bro, right around 2000, 2001.
Okay,
I discovered them after this album.
That's what I would have found, the Casualty. That makes sense though, that was happening.
I discovered the Unseen in probably 2000. Like this album coming out. Let's see. Yeah, because I was 18 in 2000, so I probably got them. I probably bought this used, and then this guy John, who I talked about on my podcast that I filmed with my buddy Rob. It's another wormhole we can go down. He actually introduced me to these guys. I lived in his house. I lived in his garage, and we used to put our Mohawks up together and listen to the Unseen on a boombox. And I just remember this dude's vocals were so good because they're so like, the pitch is where I want it, but it's got the gravel. It's bro, this is like street punk to its core. Like when I think of a perfect street punk band, I think of the Unseen. It's like when I think of a perfect hardcore band, I think of Terror, and it's like Terror, the Unseen for street punk. Like it's crazy, man. But this album is amazing, dude. It's so good. Sorry, keep putting it down. Dude, Children of the Revolution, dude, man. Too Young to Know, Too Reckless to Care, Social Security, Goodbye America. Oh my goodness, bro.
These are in their sets like all the time too.
Yeah. And like this band still tours right now. They still play these songs. I like that they play a lot of diverse lineups, like not their lineup. Their lineup is, I think, largely the same, but like they play on diverse bills, on like bills with diverse bands. I saw them play with you remember Ramallah?
No.
It was the White Trash Rob from Blood for Blood. He being from Boston, they know each other pretty well. They toured together. I went and saw them in Austin and hung out with them. It was my 21st birthday, so that was in 2003. And they bought me a bunch of vodka and orange juice. What's that called? Screwdrivers. Yeah. And we all got wasted at like, I don't know if the Unseen guys were drinking. It was me and Rob. I know that. I don't remember if those guys are straight edge or not. I don't want to like piss anybody off. But they were really nice to me, man. And Rob was really cool. But man, that band, that's like my favorite street punk band, maybe, I think. The Virus is really good. Cowshies are really good. There's a lot of really good bands out there, but the Unseen sticks out. But their sound changed pretty soon after this. They did a State of Discontent in like 2004, maybe something like that.
Yeah, it's odd. It's 3 or 5. I don't remember which year, but
it had to be 5 then, because if it was 3, I would have brought it up on that video we did.
There was Explosion, right, in 2003 or
Explode.
Yeah, Explode, was that what it was called? Or that might have been 02. Yeah, but it was.
Is this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I get that confused with State of Discontent.
No, this one. This is the bridge. It goes from this sound to the State of Discontent, with this being the bridge.
Would you say it's more of a true hardcore sound, like not true hardcore, but more into hardcore elements versus street punk?
They just got more money. Their songs
better production.
Better production.
Yeah, okay.
It's like the microphones were better, like that kind of stuff. Like because his vocals sound the same, but and also he grew up a little bit. He got a little older and he grew into his voice.
State of Discontent is one of those albums I remember, and we keep talking about this being produced great, where you just could crank it, and maybe that's why that album stood out, because a lot of that other stuff didn't sound as good when you put it that loud.
I love that record. That's probably my favorite record of theirs. It's
mine as well. Yeah.
Front to back, so good. And I was so happy to see him on Hellcat for obvious reasons, right? But yeah, man. Lower Class Crucifixion, I think, is a bona fide classic street punk record. And if you don't like that record, and you are into punk rock, I'd really love to just kind of know why. I mean, there's got to be people that don't like it. So maybe the production wasn't up to your standards, or the songwriting, or the content maybe inside the songs. Who knows? We're in a weird time right now where, like, fighting against the government is starting to seem like a conservative thing. It's really weird. And so I'm seeing a lot of people. Well, dude, I mean, I'm telling you, bro, I'm seeing a lot of people.
I know what you mean. It's funny how
but it's weird, dude. So like,
seem different.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think it's just eras of people and generations of people. We all have our things. And
with the Unseen, did they always seem like younger to you than all the other street punk fans? Like, to me, that's what part of why I always connected with them, is I felt like they were like only a year. They felt like more my generation. like, so it felt like they were also the age of the pop punk bands, but they just happened to be into doing the street punk thing. Like they were the street punk
So
representatives.
sort of, because I mean, you got to remember that
But they
album came out.
they go back. Yeah, that's what's fun. And I was looking, I was like, no way, was this all the same guys? And I'm looking, it's Mark, it's Trip. Like, no, that's the Unseen.
It's weird,
like,
isn't it?
Because the Casualties are like completely flipped like every few years. Like there's like a few
Well,
different lineups.
they got David Tejas singing for him now, which is awesome because I know that guy. So I think it's really cool. That
early on, though, too, there are a lot of, I don't know. Again,
probably, man.
Another thing with punk flips around so much too, and it's not only the personnel, but and the albums, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to touch on one in a few minutes that has got a very, very big thing that was different about it than the rest of the catalog. So, well, let's move on from the Unseen. That is an album that I think deserves celebration, though. Lower Class Crucifixion is a top tier street punk record, man. And if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. Check it out. Love it. Just caress it. Cradle its. I don't know. Let's talk about something else. What are we talking about now? Okay, your turn, sir.
Okay, so one of our shared ones we want to throw out, or a
no, we're gonna do those last. There's two of those.
Okay, so
you do this one, and then I'll do my third one, and then I got a couple that I wanted to throw out there to mention, and then we'll do the last two.
Okay, so I am gonna go with what I think is a band that you'll probably absolutely hate.
Let's go.
The Vandals, Hitler Bad, Vandals Good from 1998.
You are correct, sir.
Vandals album. I knew. I think you might have said that, but I would have guessed it that you would not really just click with the Vandals.
I'll be honest, dude. I heard them like twice, hated them both times, and never revisited it. So I honestly couldn't even tell you what they sound like.
Oh, okay.
I just was like, all my friends liked them. They were like, this band's so punk rock. And I was like, all right, I didn't know why they thought that, but I had no reason to not believe them. So I listened to it and was just like, I don't get it. And I don't even know that they're not punk rock. I don't know.
They deserve way more credit. I totally subscribe to the theory of like the pop punk generational thing where it like starts with the Ramones, that the Descendants pick that up, and then Blink picks that up, and so on and so forth from there. I think that's pretty accepted history, and it makes sense. Okay. The band that doesn't get enough credit though in that equation, along with the Descendants, is also the Vandals. The Vandals,
I would agree with that.
Other band that kind of created. I think the Descendants, they're both from the legit punk scene, and they both like the Descendants kind of started out as a pop punk band, just sharing a drummer with Black Flag. Whereas the Vandals' first album, it's on Epitaph, like before Epitaph was Epitaph. Like it's
right.
And it's a straight up punk album. Their older lineups though changed, but they were still kind of in that scene because they were still in that scene. But they were one of the early bands to really merge comedy, juvenile humor, and pop punk together.
That's what I didn't like about them.
And I think it comes off more natural when the Descendants do it. Whereas we talked about this a little bit with Blink, because Blink kind of does both. When you love him or hate him with the Descendants, you believe Milo's a freaking nerd, right? Milo literally did go to college. Like Milo is that guy. Even though he doesn't write a lot of the lyrics, Bill Stevenson does. Like Milo is a perfect avatar for that. Whereas I think the Vandals have a little bit more of what Blink-182 guy does, is where they're trying to be funny, and intentional comedy can only take you so far. So I think it gets a little bit redundant sometimes with the Vandals, even though I just like NoFX, I generally find them funny. NoFX is the other band, I guess, that gets the credit for the comedy, but there's a lot of comedy in punk rock, which I get the feeling you don't like as much. I've noticed.
Not really my thing, man. Like off topic for 1 second. I just rest up Milo, man. I hope he's doing okay. I know he had a minor heart attack recently, so
almost back to the shows, I think. Yeah,
the guy thought it was mine doing that, but yeah, dude. So I think my main issue with the Vandals was that when I first saw their album, like I didn't go to shows a lot when I was 15. I wasn't allowed to yet. I was about 16 when I really started going. I went to one at like 14 and 15, but it was like a show. And so from age like 15 to 17, there was very few shows. I was mostly buying records and trying to learn the bands. And then when I got a little money, I would start going to shows. The Vandals had a name, the Vandals. I was like, this name is awesome. And then I bought the record, was like, what is this bullshit, dude? Like, this is garbage. Yeah. Dude, I hated it. Still to this day, I have friends that they ride or die for the Vandals, bro, and I just don't get it. I'm not even going to say that they're bad, because I don't know what they sound like right off the top of my head. I know that I was very disappointed when I heard them, and I never really went back, so. It
just didn't hit you. Like it didn't catch you at the right
moment. A lot
of
bands though, dude. A lot of bands like that back in the 90s, especially because back then, you got an album, you had to love that record, man. So when I heard a band, I needed to love that band. And so like now I'm more open to listening to different music than I was back then. Back then I was like, man, that's $17, bro. I can't waste it on a Vandal CD when there might be a Rancid demo something somewhere. There might be a new NoFX record coming, and I had to buy that.
That's why the tribal lines still kind of make sense to people like you and I, because it was also like a financial decision. Like it's the normal part. So you're gonna invest. Like now I can consider myself a fan of everything because I have everything right at my fingertips. This record though, I don't know if you ever saw the because the Vandals obviously are very important to that, but also Kung Fu Records wouldn't exist obviously without the Vandals. The Vandals and the Ataris, actually. The part of
the Ataris and the Alkaline Trio. Wait, that's Asian Man.
No, yeah, that's Asian Man. Very similar though. So those, to me, those are like the two underground pop punk labels of that time period. Kind of after Lookout declines, it's like those two labels kind of
I agree with that.
The void. And there's a band. They've got a great name, actually a really fun pop punk band. That Joe Escalante signed, and then he saw the Ataris and put them out, and they're like, because they were still on, the Vandals were still, I believe, on Nitro at the time. And so and it wasn't until like this album, let's see what label this is on, because I got it pulled up. It is on Nitro. Yeah, so they were signed to Nitro until 2000. They started putting their records on Kung Fu, kind of similar to NoFX, but Kung Fu didn't do much. So this is right in the heart of their Nitro era. And if you've ever seen the Show Must Go Off DVD sets, which there's the Alkaline, the famous one, the Alkaline.
Yeah. Dude, One Man Army had one of those.
One Man Army, Bouncing Souls.
Dude, I'm buying that right now. Hold on.
Tsunami
Keep
Bomb.
talking.
Yeah.
Bro.
But of course, I think, I don't say the best, I think the most infamous one, and hint on a stream this year around Halloween time, we're totally going to watch the Alkaline Trio DVD. But on top of that, the one that they put the most effort into is the one they put out themselves, of course, that the Vandals put out. And there's so many cool features on it. It's many of these songs, why I mentioned it, because these songs are kind of the heart of that. And I found a lot of these songs through that DVD, and then went back, and this is the album that they came from. And I like those versions, and I really like these versions, but they're better live, perfected probably. But that thing, it's got a Josh Freeze cam on that DVD. You can just isolate Josh Freeze and just watch him play drums. That's pretty dope. With those, these are concert DVDs, and shout out to Kung Fu concert DVDs that have commentary on them. Like this is
that's crazy.
So the Alkaline Trio one, you can watch the regular version, and then you watch the one with Dan and I can't think of the drummer that just left. I feel so stupid. Derek.
Yeah, Alkaline Trio. Yeah, I'm sorry.
They do commentary over their own set. The Mess guys do commentary
dope.
over their own set, and the Vandals, their Vandals do have a pretty good sense of humor, especially like early 2000s style humor, doing that over their own songs. And I love that presentation of it. It's kind of putting this album on there was my excuse to kind of talk about that, but a lot of those songs do originate from here. I would suggest, all of them. Cafe 405, People Are Going to Hell. My Girlfriend's Dead is probably like their hit, if it can be considered. It's a song they got a video with. It's usually the song they close out their set with. Pretty straightforward poppy song. Not one of my favorites, but it's the one that caught on. I Got an Ape Shape. These are all great, but Too Much Drama is one that really sticks out for. There's another one I'll mention, but Too Much Drama. It's a story about like a divorced kid, and it's kind of over dramatizing because it's called Too Much Drama because he learns how to be a kid from the people he sees on TV. And it mentions, but like, you'll probably get it because you're a little bit closer in age. There's a lot of those like 1970s TV shows. All of this thing, and it makes all these references, and it's pretty good. And then another song you will probably appreciate that I forgot was on this album is Idea for a Movie, and it's a corny love song, but it's a whole narrative of him writing a song about being in a movie that he's scripting himself in. But it's the whole narrative of it. It's like a funny song to get lost into, and I love this. I love the Vandals, as you can tell. I don't talk about them enough myself.
You don't talk about them very often. I'm a little surprised.
Kind of like you are with One Man Army. Actually, it's kind of similar to One Man Army, where like they kind of only exist for me, even though that's not true, because I would say like the Vandals have a much higher status than like One Man Army. But even within the stuff that I kind of traffic in, you think the Vandals would be kind of bigger, and I think because they've been pretty inactive since like 2000. They've released like 2 albums. They'll tour every couple of years. The Joe Escalante is literally like an entertainment lawyer along with running Kung Fu.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool though.
Like he does a podcast that he talks about punk rock every now and then, but he talks about just like entertainment news, but talks
What?
about it. But talk about it from
I'm kind of interested in that actually.
from the knowledge level though of a lawyer and someone who got to a fairly the Vandals running Kung Fu Records, fairly high level of entertainment. Not a big celebrity, but it was in the game. I'm looking at it right now. I have That Darn Punk, which I forgot when
I need to pull this up on my screen so I don't look like a dickhead looking at my phone. I'm listening to you, but I'm like trying to find something to tell you. I'm looking for something.
They put out narrative DVDs on Kung Fu. Of like, there's like a storyline on this thing. It's called That Darn Punk. It's a piece of shit. It's one of the worst movies you ever see. Totally need to do a review on it. There's a lot of stuff. Kung Fu put out a lot of extra stuff, and even in this era when the Vandals weren't on Kung Fu, there was a lot of Kung Fu related stuff that the Vandals put out because they were able to put that out. Nitro to Kung Fu wasn't exactly like they were locked into an Atlantic Records contract or something that they couldn't release stuff.
I just had this like weird. Sometimes you'll be talking about something and it'll click a memory.
Uh-huh.
I just had one unlock and I'm so pissed off right now because it's an album that came out in 1998 and I just didn't realize it was that year. And that's what I was looking for. It's like, did that really come out in 98? And I just checked. Okay, so what happened is we started talking about the Vandals. Then we did like the live show DVD thing. And I was like, oh yeah, they did a One Man Army one too. So I went to eBay real quick to go buy one. And a guy had a copy of Mest and One Man Army both unopened. And it was like $4 for the pair. So I bought that. And then I bought the Alkaline. And then I bought the Alkaline Trio one. You want the Mest DVD? I'll send it to you.
I've got it.
You got it? I'll just watch it.
I bought it like a year ago. I rebought it.
That's what's up, dude. I'm telling you. And I bought the Alkaline Trio one. And then when I was doing that, I was like, wait, did Murder City Devils do one on the same thing? No, but they did do a DVD. And then I'm thinking about Murder City Devils, and I was like, wait a minute. They put out albums in the 90s, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, dude. Empty Bottles, Broken Hearts was not 98. I pulled it up. Sure enough, it was 1998. So that one will be one that I mentioned in a minute. But, yeah, dude. Crazy, man.
I'm glad you're talking about those. I love those DVDs. I have bought all of them several times.
I haven't thought about them in a long time. I'm glad we brought it up so I can watch them.
They're just a good entertainment. Honestly, like I wish I could. My DVD player that I have, which doesn't even really work now, doesn't hook up well to my speakers, and I wish it did because they don't sound so good now. They're recorded really well. I just think it's the output. I don't have the correct output.
I have surround sound in here that cranks, dude. So I'm gonna be able to.
There's some funny stuff you can do too with like the cat. Like they were making DVDs for like the art of DVDs. Like there's some on the Alkaline Trio one where you can switch camera angles, like your own switching of it, which is just. Okay. People like us who, and again, there's a Josh Freese. Like if you're into
drums, stuff like that,
watch a whole set, but just watch Josh Freese play the whole set. Like, that's insane. But I don't know, like the best drummer in punk history. There you go. He's there. You got a whole lesson for him.
Wait, the best drummer in punk history is who?
I'm gonna say Josh Freese.
Really?
I think he could definitely be on the podium. It's him. It's Travis. We did this on my stream when we came up with a definitive top 3, and I can't remember who the third one was.
Dude, I would put Brandon up there based on what I've been hearing off of Tomorrow Never Comes. That guy's amazing.
Probably just doesn't have the resume within punk rock though.
I was just thinking as I said it, I was like, yeah, but he hasn't been in that band long enough. Like,
which I think people probably discredit Josh Freese, even though like I think it's kind of conventional wisdom, but he's also people consider him the drummer of. They say he's the drummer of Perfect Circle. I'm like, or these other things. I'm like, no, or Foo Fighters. Right now, he's the Foo Fighters drummer.
I wouldn't even put Travis in there, bro. He's not even a punk rock drummer.
Yeah,
but
it makes it more difficult. I want to say Derek Plord was the one that came up. He passed away. He was the original drummer of the Ataris and the drummer of Lagwagon, actually, and a lot of other stuff. Passed away in like 2003, and that's really? on our stream. We got into that conversation of like, because he was like the reason why he worked with the Ataris. He wasn't really a member. He was just a guy that the Vandals actually. Just like because he was a badass drummer, like, hey, go tour with this band. We got this singer that we kind of like the songwriting, and
that's crazy.
He was such a good drummer that he was a hired gun in that way, but he had a lot of personal issues, unfortunately, and I believe he overdosed or suicide.
Jesus.
Speaking of that whole universe, the guitarist for Lagwagon also had a heart attack, like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, he's in Lagwagon versus the World. The big dude. He's in a lot of bands that in that same orbit, and. Shout out to the old punk rockers, man. So let's
dude, for real.
Ourselves, guys. Like we're talking about albums that are 20 years old, and a lot of these were mid albums, so we're getting up there, guys. Prepare yourselves,
dude, for real. Man, so my apologies. I was listening to you the whole time. I had to get that stupid thing figured out on my phone, and now I just got an alert to my bank account's overdrawn. So I'm like, oh, come on.
Why? Just because you're buying like DVDs frivolously, that's no reason for
Probably,
your bank
is
account
it?
to be overdrawn.
I've got the money. It's just not in my checking account right now, but it is what it is. Yeah, Vandals is a band that I'll have to go back and listen to a little bit and just rediscover. Maybe I'll like them a little bit more. But I really did have a problem with their
The
I don't
humor,
know,
the vibe,
the name
yeah.
and their name and presentation didn't match up with their music very well, in my opinion.
They also look like
So,
the nerdiest guys to play punk rock too. Like all of them
yeah.
just look like, and not even, again, Milo can make that as sort of a gimmick, even though I believe it with Milo as well. With the Vandals, it was more like
Yeah, that's kind of
they're
it's
straight
just
up dorky guys in a
it
way.
was like a really big disappointment, I guess is the right word.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, let's move on to the next band on my list, because after this we'll talk. I'm going to give a couple of honorable mentions, and then we'll talk about our top two because they are the same, I believe.
Mhm.
So before we had the Street Dogs, the singer Mike McClogan was in the Dropkick Murphys, and so in 1998 they had. Sorry, in 1998, Dropkick Murphys did "Do or Die." And that was their first album. I don't know if they had an EP or a single before that. Honestly, I probably should know that, but I don't. Bro, the first song I ever heard of theirs was Barroom Hero on a Hellcat comp. And I was like, oh, I like this band. And then I heard Do or Die. Then I heard The Gang's All Here like a year later or something. And I was like, oh, is that the same guy? Because they sounded similar enough, man. They really did. Because when you add Ken Casey in there doing like background vocals and like stuff like that, it makes the Albar Mike McClogan sound. Yeah, it makes Albar Mike McClogan sound way more similar. But the first album from Dropkick Murphys, Do or Die, is a bona fide classic. It's like a top 5 album on Hellcat. It is. I don't know about that. That's a bold statement, but it's a fantastic record, man. Front to back, top to bottom. Bro, I don't even know what I would consider to be my favorite songs on here besides Borrow Here's. I don't know, man. I love that song, but I don't know if it's my favorite song off that record or not. Let's see here. So how do you feel about Do or Die? Because I don't think you had that on your list. It was on the bubble.
I didn't, yeah, and for me, it was just more of an issue of like it wasn't going to be number 5 or number 6. I honestly don't go to it a lot, although like it's kind of like you had with the Alkaline Trio album, in that like these are all the songs I like. It just as an album, I don't think of it as much. Like Barroom Hero, I think might have been my first Dropkick Murphy song as well.
Had to have been.
I'm assuming it's on the same comp. Yeah, it's either there or Epitaph DVD, which I think I would have already had. So I would have already known who Dropkick was and heard their songs, but I really got acquainted through Barroom Hero, which totally threw me off, as you were saying, because the other way I got acquainted was the other Epitaph comp that had Walk Away on it, and I couldn't figure out how. Yeah, the Punkorama had the Barroom Hero, and then the teaser, it was a little teaser I got at Warped Tour that had, and I had heard a lot of Dropkick Murphys, but I hadn't connected that there were different guys in different eras.
Yeah,
and I couldn't understand how Barroom Hero and Walk Away was the same band, and it totally was the same band because there was a vibe to it, but I couldn't figure out what was different. And this version, though, it's funny because sometimes what I don't like about Dropkick Murphys is they can be a little too Dropkick Murphys-y.
No, this is when they, dude.
This is when they were.
This is my preferred version of Dropkick. This is
why we all actually like them. We accept everything else because it sort of signals to this.
Well, yeah, like their last record is all this acoustic cover songs of this folky stuff, and that's cool and all. But bro, that's not Dropkick Murphys to me, man. They're not Flogging Molly. They're Dropkick Murphys. Like,
right?
Yeah, bro. I like Street Dogs better than I do later Dropkick Murphys music. Straight up and down. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. I like Street Dogs better than I do later Dropkick Murphys, and I'm not trying to be, crapping out Dropkick stuff. They're amazing. I mean, look at the shirt I'm wearing. I saw them fairly recently. But this is like East Coast Union, like pro-union working man's oi music, dude. This is what I think of when I think of skinhead music. I think of old Dropkick Murphys, the Business, the Bruisers. But I mean, those guys are in this band sometimes. Like Dropkick Murphys, bro, is like a staple band. They are probably the premier gateway oi band, because when you get into Dropkick, you start to find your way back into stuff like the Business of Cockney Rejects, Coxbar, stuff like stuff I don't even listen to, man. But that leads you to stuff like CMI and all these modern oi bands and stuff. So without this record, I think there'd be a lot of skinheads that don't exist. And I don't mean turds, I mean like sharps, skinheads against racial prejudice. Those dudes are awesome. They're very good people. They're just like me and you. They just dress a little different. I mean, that's about it, bro. But this album is good, man. Like, I mean, I would say this is like a no skip record, bro. It's a 10 out of 10, man.
And it's crazy that this was the debut too.
Man, dude, so
I always
ridiculous.
assumed it wasn't. Like, I'd always assumed that it wasn't because of how like polished up and stuff. Because kind of in the context of everything we've been talking about tonight, of how punk rock records tended to sound, you know, you assume that this is when they've got it together. Not what's the 2001 album, which I think is
Blackout? No,
the one before Blackout. Blackout's my Dropkick Murphys album. The black one with the
Sing Loud, Sing Proud.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people sort of associate that as like sometimes year one of Dropkick.
Isn't that crazy? Because their 2 albums before that are better than that.
Yeah, and that's the one that always gets dropped down and low. That's the one to me that they started being that indulgent Dropkick Murphys. Like I like where they went on Blackout. So Blackout is just a lot of fun to me. But that album was where they started doing, like, when I saw them, I never watched streams of them. If they're ever doing a live stream, I almost never watch it because I actually don't like their set that much because they don't break out a lot of this stuff in it. Although
I'm with you on that.
Like, they'll still tour. Look at your shirt. They're still touring. Like they haven't turned their back on punk rock necessarily.
No,
just what's made them famous is not these songs.
No, I would rather see Street Dogs play, because when I saw Street Dogs, they play some stuff off Do or Die. So like that's, you know, I mean, they're no longer a band either. Unfortunately,
I didn't realize that they did that though.
Yeah, Mike wrote a lot of this stuff, and I mean, I don't know if that would be considered cover songs or whatever, but they definitely play a couple. They played oh man, what was the song that they played last time? I think they played Skinhead on the MBTA, but yeah, that's actually one of my favorite songs on the record. I like Tenant Enemy #1. Finnegan's Wake, of course, is one of those super gang vocally party songs. I like that one a lot. Man, Barroom Hero. There's so many songs on this record that are good. I could listen to this album every day and be just fine with that.
I think I've had like one too many beers 17 times because I've listened to Barroom Hero, and it just makes you want to finish your drink and grab another, even though should be listening to the moral of the song, you know?
Right. I mean, I'm not a drinker anymore and haven't been for quite some time, but like, yeah, I did a lot of beer drinking, a lot of whiskey drinking the Dropkick Murphys. That is for sure.
Very natural. It's what feeds into, and a lot of the punk you and I talk about really isn't a lot of drinking music, but Dropkick Murphys absolutely is.
And so is Flogging Molly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move it along, dude. Do you have any honorable mentions that you want to talk about just for a second? Because I do.
Yeah. So I know you have like a weird relationship with Strung Out, but this was the year Twisted by Design came out.
Yeah, I didn't put that on here because I thought you might, but I don't like that record. I saw that I don't like the band, but like we said earlier, man, they're real heavy at the top, which is like a 20% of their music, and then the rest of it I just couldn't care less about.
You had Mass Nerder by All. So we talk about the Descendants a lot. People love that album. I'm just not into All enough to give like the expert opinion on it. I like All. It's just they are so hurt by who they, them basically being the Descendants without Milo just hurts them in a way that's almost unfair to the band. Right. Also, I do need to mention there's two more that I absolutely have to mention is 88 Fingers Louie, Back on the Streets, came out in 1998. Not a bad record. That is a really like super underrated. If you made the list of the great underrated records, I think that would be on there. Yeah. There was also Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo by MXPX, which is not really my favorite record, but it's an MXPX record. I love that record. Mentioned. And I played it. I listened to it this weekend at my store, and I forgot how many dead-gum good songs are on that record, dude. It just why does it not get mentioned? Like, it's another one that just sort of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. I think the album in 2000 was so big that it just kind of ate it, maybe. Which one was in 2000? The one with Responsibility and all those songs on it. And then see, I don't think of them as that band. I think of them as Life in General. But again, so this comes in between those two though. And I think those are pretty, because the 2000 album was like before the 2003 album, I think was their biggest album. Okay. And then Life in General is such an iconic album. It like defines the band, Yeah. Had to mention that. And then one more that I'm just going to mention because I have to, but is one of my least favorite records by this band, which is one of my favorite bands. Bad Religion released No Substance in 1998,
Dude,
which
yeah,
in my opinion is their worst
so
album.
part of my issue is that a lot of the bands that were dropping stuff in '98 were good bands that had bad albums.
Yeah, well, you think it kind of makes sense in that perspective. If '94 is kind of the peak, we're kind of on a little bit of the downturn now for a lot of those kind of bands. And with Bad Religion, it's weird because I said I didn't really care for their major label run on my video, and a lot of people took issue with that, and they said they made really good stuff, and I was like, they did. It wasn't as good as the others. Like, it's clearly a step down. And this is the album I think most people are referring to, because all the other albums are still kind of classic Bad Religion canon. This one, and then they did New America after this, which Brett helped them a little bit on, and it sounds much better. People just dismissed it because we've sort of written off the Bad Religion major label era as that time. That's almost like they weren't a part. People say they weren't a part of punk in that time. And they kind of weren't. They were in a weird in-between zone where they weren't really like the legends like you would have now. But they weren't an up-and-coming band either. And they were like a bunch of 40-year-olds on a major label. So they just didn't fit the major label at all.
I agree with that. Yeah. Bad Religion, I like Bad Religion, but they're not as important to me as they are to everybody else. Right. I also have a whole ass another 5 bands I want to mention real quick. Okay. I had a top 10 basically. MXPX, we've already discussed that. Slowly going the way to Buffalo. I had a hard time not putting these other ones on here. I'll go ahead and say the Murder City Devils, Empty Bottles, Broken Hearts, because I didn't realize that was this year, and I'm really bummed out because that record has changed my entire life. I'm not going to go into all the reasons why, but I love that band. If you like organ-led gothic punk rock stuff that's like super, I don't want to say whiny, but depressed sounding, dude, this band, I got to see them one time live, and I lost my shirts in the flood, bro. I might have to find some Murder City Devils merch somewhere, but that band is absolutely amazing. There's a band called The Gadgets that had an album called At Ease come out in 1998. Very important record to me. My dad introduced me to The Gadgets by accident. He bought me some stuff off of Hellcat for Christmas. And this is right before he died. Like, I'm talking like 7 or 8 weeks before he passed. So The Gadgets at Ease, the Bouncing Souls with the black cover with the red and orange stripe on the top, and something else he bought me. But The Gadgets is like a mod rock ska band. That album is a classic, and they've never done much else other than they put out one other album that was like okay, but this album is perfect. Dillinger Ford did Midwestern Songs of the Americas. It's a classic, like rock and roll punk, like dad punk. I don't know what to call it. People call it dad punk because it's like what happens whenever we turn 35. We all find this kind of punk rock stuff. It's like Nothington, Menzingers. None of that shit would exist.
Southern punk, even though it's not really from the South. I always call that a Southern
it's just
vibe
like this
to
rock and roll. It's more like Florida punk if you're gonna do it like that. It's like what's that city in Florida that all that shit comes from? Doggone it, what is it? It's no idea stuff. Does the Gainesville? It's like the Gainesville sound.
I was hoping we could do this as a segue better. We should have clipped that out and put it in because it would have been really good to the next album we're officially going to talk about. Just
hold on, but the last one, that's true. The last one, I got a bone to pick with that band, by the way. But the last one that it almost took the place of the one we're fixing to talk about is Against All Authority, All Fall Down. That record is one of the top 10 ska punk records, period, bar none, the end. But yeah, those 5 records also deserved to be mentioned. That leads us to our top 2 records of 1998. I think we agree very, very much on these 2 and their placement. Yeah, dude, you lead the dance, and I'll talk about the next one, and for reasons you can see on my neck.
Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to display why ska punk is an extremely diverse genre of music, because we have 2 ska punk records as our top 2, and they're 2 records that don't sound anything like each other. You almost wouldn't really recognize they were in the same genre.
The first one I don't consider a ska punk record. It is a punk rock record.
Okay. Be that as it may, I'm going to refer to, speaking of Florida, Gainesville, Hello Rockview by Less Than Jake. And that was one of our 2 common ones. Less Than Jake's another hard band for me to actually do this with, because this little run they had, this little mid run that starts right there, that goes to the album in 2003.
No, dude,
so
you're wrong. No,
those albums are so good.
The 2003 record, it's Hello Rockview, and it's Losing Streak. It's these 2.
No,
these are 2 records that matter from Less Than Jake. The other albums don't matter.
Disagree. However, we are
It's
absolutely.
okay. You can be wrong sometimes, dude. No, play.
Yeah, I will be, I'm sure. But I'm not wrong about this. I'm not wrong about Hello
Let's
Rock being
go.
amazing because all my best friends are metalheads. History of a Boring Town.
Hello Rockview. I don't know if I like it better than Losing Streak, but I consider those basically one album. It's very much like Let's Go and Out Come the Wolves for me. It's like
hard to differentiate. It's hard, that was kind of the point I was making, which I guess you could start it right there. That'd be the better, because I just did that in my head. That's why I didn't start it right there, because those albums, they're kind of interchangeable. Those are the Less Than Jake albums, if you will.
Yeah.
And you think about, when you think about what Less Than Jake is, it's those two albums, but it's this album right here. That's, if you're a Less Than Jake fan, it's because you like, History of a Boring Town, basically.
100%.
I thought Sugar in a Gas Tank was on this one, but it's not. But it's still in the.
All those songs are pretty much perfect, though. Silver Linings was a good album. It was like a few years ago. It was pretty good. The thing is that it's like I need to go listen to it 100 more times so that I could call it a classic, because I haven't had the time. I've dug into these. I've listened to these albums probably 200 or 300 times a piece. Hello Rockview is amazing, bro. I have a very, very early memory of Less Than Jake, dude. And I discovered Less Than Jake when I discovered Rancid. Like, so they're really important to me, man. My bone to pick, though, is that, and it is what it is. It's probably not even really their fault. But I covered them on my live stream, because on my live stream I was given a preview to this video we're doing, and I listened to a bunch of bands and music from this year, and Less Than Jake got my video blocked. Not muted, not taking my money, because I don't care about those things. Blocked, bro. So I legit have a problem with that. That's fucking ridiculous, man. Absolutely absurd.
Your catalog is controlled by a major label. I mean, that's what that is.
Absurd, dude. It is absolutely absurd. I'm over here going, go buy these records and listen to this band and go listen to them on Spotify. Let's not let that guy do that now. I'm earning 0 pennies from this, dude. 0. Oh, it makes me so mad. For a band that's so important to me. That's what bummed me out, is that it's a band and somebody goes, yeah, but it's not really their fault. They're not the one doing it. Yeah, they are, because they signed their label. They signed to the label. They know what the labels do. They've always known this. The labels have always behaved this way. Whether it was on a streaming thing or not is irrelevant, because they've always behaved this way. All right, rant over with. Less Than Jake rules. This album is freaking awesome, dude. I don't even know what my favorite songs would be.
The charisma that they have as a band is kind of unmatched and kind of underrated within the genre.
Yeah.
Like they're another band. I saw them live a couple of years ago. So them in Newfound Glory. What a bill that was for someone like me.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. And some other bands too that are actually bigger now. Hot Mulligan and Lolo, who not really my scene, but are pretty big bands right now. And man, the command they still have. I've seen them. I forgot about this last. I've seen them 3 times. I've seen them on a Warped Tour, and they were amazing. Like they were the smallest band that had as big of a crowd as they had, which is kind of unfair to say to them, because they're a major label band, but they're not Newfound Glory. They're not.
How much of a bummer is that they're on Capitol Records and not something awesome like Epitaph?
Yeah, well, I mean, they eventually, right? They're on a real label now, right? They're on.
Yeah, but the albums that matter aren't.
Well, and that's why they're hard to find on vinyl. That's why they get copyright. That's why all of that exists in that mid-career point for Less Than Jake. Like there's something they did with Fat Records you can get, but
I almost bought Hello Rockview on vinyl recently, but it was like $90, and I just spent $460 on 2 records the other day, and I just can't really do the justification. But that's another topic for another time. But yeah, I think History of a Boring Town is probably my favorite song on that record.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, I mean, I live in a boring town and have lived in my whole life, and it's pretty accurate.
I also remember very thoroughly hearing Johnny Quest Thinks We're Sellouts, and that was the first song I heard by them.
Again, like what is Less Than Jake?
And I was like, bro, that song was awesome. Johnny Quest is rad too. So what is this band talking about now? And then I'm like watching it, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, this is crazy, dude. This band rules.
They are again, I think I really think we should champion them as like the unsung heroes of pop punk, because they're another band that like was a little bit senior to like the Good Charlottes and those guys who were coming up.
Oh, absolutely.
And those guys totally ripped off Less Than Jake. Like that, they look, they're doing this sound in '98 when that sound really wasn't a mainstream sound yet. And what 100%. I mean by that too is like, yeah, Blink is around, and the stuff from the Descendants were around, but that still sounds a little raw and a little rough. This is clean. This is what like all that other stuff that got people really, really rich sounded like. This is clean like that stuff.
Yes, 100% agree. Sorry, I was looking for something because I had something that I start remembering stuff when we start talking about this stuff, and I got really excited because I was going to say I heard about these guys before I listened to Suicide Machines, which I think is barely true, but it is true. But like, maybe not. Maybe like it was around the same time, dude. I was like really young when this happened, so I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Very, very. Anyways, I might have Suicide Machines on. Is what my point was. There's a small chance that happens, dude. So just cross your fingers. Yeah, I'm not kidding. So, yeah. And then I just got an email saying that Brian from Death Before Dishonor is coming on. So let's go.
All right.
Sorry, Boston hardcore people. Dude, I am loving life right now, bro. I'm not even getting paid for this shit, and I'm happy. I got like work boners for work I'm not even getting paid for. Yeah, they definitely should get more credit than they get. I think that they definitely, speaking about Less Than Jake, they definitely were the spearhead for that sound.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they came out before Blink, they came out before all those bands, and they got big. They were on Capitol freaking Records in 1996 or 7, whatever year.
Yeah, they signed too soon. That's actually, I think, the problem.
Yeah. Had they waited a year or two and then let other bands come, they would have signed and been like, boom.
So
because I mean, can you imagine if it had been flip flop with Blink and Less Than Jake? Less Than Jake would be Blink 182.
Yes, exactly. And because I think they had more of a pop sense that I think Blink is more of a punk band. Actually, if you break down their stuff they were doing early, like in this time period, Less Than Jake,
I don't know if I agree with that.
I think Less Than Jake is much more poppy or more similar to what the kind of sound, that would come to define the genre.
Nah.
Yeah, absolutely. Compared to what was going on in Cheshire Cat, compare Cheshire Cat to this. If you look at how much cleaner that is.
I mean, are you talking about the recording quality or the songwriting?
Just in general, the songwriting, the song,
because they sound the same.
The whole vibe.
Songwriting sounds the same.
But Less Than maybe the point I'm making is the same point. Is Less Than Jake was more refined, quicker.
That's true. They had more money behind them quicker. They're also older.
The other band that I would put is a band we were talking about offline the other day that I think suffers from the same thing as Face to Face, because I think they were just like a slight generation too early to really cash in on it. But if you look at, unlike Face to Face kind of stayed who they were the whole time, which kind of makes them kind of cool. I think these guys, Less Than Jake, really pushed that sound. And because pop punk has until recently not got respect as a genre, I think people like Less Than Jake don't get respect for actually kind of creating a genre, because it's just assumed like, oh, you just made light punk rock. Like, well, no, there is a talent and a skill to that as well. And I think Less Than Jake is someone that has that skill like in spades.
Dude, Hella Rock You is an awesome album, dude. Like, I'm not even trying to argue about semantics, dude. That album's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good, bro. Like, because regardless of what your opinion is and mine, our opinions are close enough to where we're both right. That band is so good. They definitely need more respect. They definitely need more credit. They definitely could have been Blink 182. And I mean, look at Real Big Fish, dude. Less Than Jake is far and away the better band, and Real Big Fish was huge. Now, the only ska punk band that I think got some credit, and I think they got it when they should have, was Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. They were a little before all this. And they spearheaded the whole thing.
Yeah, well, they're considered, everyone else is considered knockoffs of them, like in the mainstream's eyes. Yeah.
So, but Less Than Jake, dude, a top tier band that I absolutely love. We're running long here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next band. The final band, the one that we all know we're getting to. The best album from 1998 would in fact be Rancid, Life Won't Wait. Bro, I got something to show you, dude.
That's it.
I may have told you I was getting this, but I got the cassette with the cigarette pack.
Yes.
Want to see something cool though? I got two.
Oh, nice.
Because I got one that's in like phenomenal shape that I was going to keep, and then this one I was going to take to the shop. But you don't have a tape deck though, huh?
No.
Okay. I was going to say we'll figure something out, but yeah, Life Won't Wait, dude. Rancid, Life Won't Wait is one of the most important records of my entire life that will never change based solely upon when it came out, because that was the last thing that my dad got me before he passed away. It was that record. He got me a stack of CDs for Christmas that year. He got me Bouncing Souls, Life Won't Wait, The Gadgets, and then something else. But it was 4 records, and he passed away in January. So of 99. But there's so many songs that are so important for so many reasons outside of my personal stuff that it just amplifies it when I start thinking about my dad. And like this tattoo on my throat is placed there on purpose. I would get another one of these skulls tattooed on me somewhere else because I like this record so much. Yeah, man. I don't know. Go ahead, talk.
Oh, it's an amazing album. Now, when I did my official Rancid rankings, I put it kind of low, and I realized that was just not the right place for it, but like the only place for it. Not because it's a bad record, because I think it's just the most unique record in Rancid's like entire catalog. It's sort of just it's just not on the track of everything else. Like you can say that a little bit about all of them, but no, this one is very specifically different. And I remember the narrative at the time was like Rancid was kind of reactive, I think, in the late 90s after all, because literally they just blow up with Let's Go. Like people think of Out Come the Wolves when they blew up. People don't realize, no, Out Come the Wolves was a response to them blowing up. The name Out Come the Wolves is because they were pursued like wolves.
Dude, nobody ever thinks about that.
And even in my head, I had the great records in 94, like Pumpkin Drublick and Dookie. And sometimes I say Out Come the Wolves, and we've been dissing on Let's Go a lot, but it's Let's Go. Let's Go was Rancid's entry. It just happened the next year. They followed it up with like their best work.
It wasn't that we were dissing on the record. It's that it got them where they needed to be, and then they became better musicians. Like that's when they became Rancid, but then they really became Rancid with Out Come the Wolves. I keep hearing all these edgelords talk about, the best Rancid materials, all the 3 EPs they did before 93. Shut up. That is not their best material, dude. That is so stupid. 93 is not their best album. The EPs aren't their best material. And 2000 is not their best material. Stop. Like, that's ridiculous. Those are objectively not their best songs. Are they good? I can even admit that 2000 is a good record because clearly it is, if that many people like it, right?
Yeah.
But, like, that's not their best music. Objectively speaking, you can go in there and point out reasons why that music isn't as good as stuff from And Out Come the Wolves, Life Won't Wait, Dominoes, Indestructible. Like, just because it's more punk rock or it's more dirty or lo-fi or whatever it is that these super punk kids want to talk about, that stuff drives me nuts, bro. Like,
it's dumb too to do that. Like, think about this, especially in the context of this album. This is the most underground album they have. If you you have to actually do your research to understand what the hell is going on this album. That's what's funny about it. And here's the other thing too. And it's funny about 2000 is 2000 actually should be the oddball album and not this one, because
it's so weird.
This is you have, if we want to put Out Come the Wolves as their peak, well, because it pulls a little bit of Let's Go and pulled a little bit of Life Won't Wait. Life Won't Wait's what got spit out after. And so it's a sequel to Out Come the Wolves. It's just one of those weird sequels that doesn't get shown in the same theaters and only the real heads know about. That's what this is, because it took actually the parts that were improved upon from Let's Go to Life Won't Wait. It took those little elements, those ska parts and some of the slower punk and stuff like that. And then they put a whole record of that. And instead of going poppy, or instead of doing what they did in 2000 of like, we'll prove everyone wrong for talking crap about us, we'll try to let our nuts show, they just went, this was to me more rebellious. It's like, let's go all the way into this and let's make a record that is truly a punk record, but you kind of forget it's a punk record because the songs are so good and so diverse, and there's so many different types of songs on one record. And it's the one Rancid punk rock record we've talked about tonight that's too long, and you still kind of want a little bit more after because the songs are so good. It's been a criticism in the past of mine that it's a little long, and it is objectively, because I believe it's their longest album, but it's totally worth a sit through. Like you don't regret having sat through it.
Every song on it's good. I think that when they went in to do Life Won't Wait, they were not concerned about anything. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like when they went in there to write this record, that they were like, let's make the best record we can make, and let's not concern ourselves with pigeonholing our band into a genre. Because it's got rocksteady, it's got dub, it's got reggae, it's got ska, it's got punk, it's got street punk, it's got rock and roll. I mean, it's got everything that anybody that's us, anybody from our circles, anything you could want to hear is on that one album. Mm-hmm. There is no other album that exists like this to me. This shows you what kind of geniuses these dudes are. Because these same people also wrote Out Come the Wolves. They also wrote 2000. They also wrote Lars and the Bastards. They also wrote the Transplant stuff. So they also wrote stuff for Pink and Britney Spears, and like the Interrupters came from this man's brain. Like
Green Day,
so
they
like,
collaborated with.
Yeah, dude. So like this record, while maybe not their best and maybe not my favorite, it is their greatest achievement. It's stuff that when you go, this is the one that non-punk rockers go, dude, no, life won't wait, man. You got to listen to this and got to put it on record. You got to listen to it on vinyl. Got to sit down, turn the volume up not lo-fi, excuse me, audiophile type guys. No, man, listen to all this stuff. They went and recorded it in Jamaica. They did some in New York. They did some in LA. They never done that before or since. Like their stuff is not like that. This is you can't replicate this, dude. This is Dark Side of the Moon. This is Master of Puppets. This is Nevermind. This is, this is that, dude. That's what this is.
Yes, it's it's kind of the same way. Like I think a lot of film directors, and I can't name one off the top of my head, they have like the movie that everyone likes that they're known for, but then they have the movie that they like, and it's usually the one that the critics don't like because it's a little indulgent, kind of like this, because it is very specific to them, and what they would like, what they would do. Now there is the theory that I believe the band was not quite clicking like together as much in this time period, and that is why Life Won't Wait and 2000 are so drastically different than everything else, that it was a lot of Tim writing the songs, which definitely, if that's the case, that would make sense for Life Won't Wait, because Life Won't Wait of all the Rancid albums would be closest to like a Tim side project, just in
that sounds the most like Tim Armstrong to me,
right? Whereas maybe 2000 the dynamic was different and they went with Lars, like that also. I'm purely speculating, but I can see that as well. Not that Lars is out of place on this, and not like Tim's out of place on a hardcore punk album.
Dude, there's beautiful music on this record, man. Like I might listen. I'm fixing to go to the store here in a minute. I got to go pick up something. I'm gonna listen to this record. I think this is what I'm gonna listen to. I
just remembered, and I'm like, I don't go way back on vinyl. I go back like a couple years on vinyl. This is the first album I bought, though. Very specific. Really? I just remembered that, and it was so cool because there's two of them, because it's so long, so you got to flip it, and the casing is really good to it. But the whole reason why I finally like bought vinyl is like, all right, let me hear what as you're saying, the audio guys are talking about with the sound. So specifically, I got this album because I only had enough money after I bought the turntable for one album, and it was this one. It's orange. It's got the little orange color. I don't have a good spot for my vinyls now. I don't have the
records.
Records,
sir. Vinyls are not a word.
You've been correcting me on a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's the exact pressing.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Orange one. Yeah, that's first.
No, the only thing I'm serious about correcting
I ever owned.
The only thing I'm serious about correcting you on is the vinyl, sir. That makes me sad. I'm just, dude. I'm sorry. I'm grumpy. But check this one out. I haven't opened it because it's a I think 4 LP set. I think it's the 20th anniversary or something. But it's got a nice big ding in the corner, which makes me really sad. So I may try to replace it one of these days, but it's kind of expensive.
That was on all my notebooks in school, by the way, because
dude, I love it.
That's awesome. I can't draw like you can. And Rancid doesn't ever really have like a logo except for that one, because to me their logo is the Rancid font,
the Rancid thing, yeah.
Or it's like the Out Come the Wolves pose, or that kind of, what I mean? But,
right, they have a bunch of logos. It's like their name is their real logo, but as far as
nothing I can really write on my notebook. And so
as far as the symbol's concerned, it's this.
That Life Won't Wait. Like there was nothing to hang out next to Milo and hang out next to everything else on my notebooks. Like that was it.
Somebody told me that that's a painting or a piece of artwork or graffiti somewhere that wasn't meant for them to use on their record. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's on my throat forever. So whatever.
It's up there with the most tattooed Rancid, and that's where I've really explored this idea a lot, because looking up Rancid tattoos, they're kind of a hard band to get a tattoo of because they don't have they got great imagery but not quite stuff that fits tattoos. Just one of the great legacies of this album
is a good tattoo.
Yeah, that's I think the standard one. I forgot about that one. Dude, this album has a song called 1998. It had to be #1, and it's a pretty damn good song.
I didn't even consider that, bro.
But Leicester Square. Can we just start there? Holy shit, I love that song. That one to me is just, I got some hard times, 2 punks upon the subway. It's a long way to go. Yeah. Come on.
That's a great song, actually.
The Wolf.
That's a really good. The Wolf is probably my favorite one.
I love the front side. I have no problem with. I mean, you got New Dress. You have another one. I'll save for a minute for us to talk about. You have you have Hooligans. I mean, come on. How you not get lost in Hooligans and Rude Boys? No One
Hooligans is a
Thing for
good
Sure.
song. I like
But the
one
back
'cause-
half of the album is just unstoppable to me once you hit that back half, all the way to the very last song.
Bro, the more I look at it, the more I don't think there is a stoppable point on this, dude. I love all of this. Corazon de Oro, Coppers,
That's what I was thinking.
Something in the World
So the-
Today. Turntable is so good.
Lady Liberty,
Liberty. Talk about Lars Fredrickson and the
the
Bastards.
rock style, yeah. But
Cash Culture and Violence with Dickie Barrick. Come on,
that one has like that cool, yeah.
dude. We're so nerding out for this record, bro.
You
Let's
know which
go.
ones I don't like as much, and it's funny, and maybe I just heard them too much. Is Corazon de Oro and the other love song? What's the other? Who would have thought? Like, I think they're good. They're just those songs I think could have been on other Rancid records, and they sound a little bit less like Life Won't Wait.
We are disagreeing a lot tonight, dude. Who would have thought is like a top Rancid song for me?
But and again, New Dress. I love New Dress. I love the song Life Won't Wait. Blood Clot is famous.
Actually, the title track's probably my least favorite song on the album.
Makes sense. I get that.
Yeah, it's like it's good, but it's not like blow my hair back good. It's not a skip or anything.
Does your arm hair go up when you hear Hoover Street?
There's a lot of Rancid music that makes my arm hair go up.
That one specifically, though.
Hoover Street is a great song.
And then, like, when I was a kid, because I had this, someone burned this for me. Someone burned Life. I don't remember who. They burned this for me, and they gave me the CD case of 2000 of the 93. So I thought Life Won't Wait was the cover of 93 for like 6 months. As I
Interesting.
And,
that's awesome.
And I was like, that was a weird song. Like, I thought Hoover Street was weird. I kept listening. And then they played it live one of the times I saw them. And
oh,
it was
really?
So cool, because it's almost like beat poetry. You know what I mean? The way it's.
Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm listening to something real quick. I got to remember. Let's see. It's very. Okay, yeah. Okay, I was making sure I was listening to the right track. Yeah, Hoover Street is. It starts off kind of fast and then it slows down.
Yeah, it'll hit its little crescendos, but it's really Tim. Oh, like if Tim was a solo artist, I'd assume it, and he became like a pop star, that would have been his hit song into the weird ass genre.
Yeah, that song was really, really good. I was like, man, I'm trying to remember the like.
Yeah, it's the story of the crack house and
yeah.
And there's a great narrative. And then we talked about this before. Rancid's strength. When I said I don't go for them for lyrics, and then I clarified, go for them for stories, almost like for entertainment.
I was gonna say there's a million stories in this album that
this album has so many, and like for me, I found this in about 2001, 2002, where it's like I loved Wolves, but Wolves seems so much more frivolous compared to like this album. This album is like the hard reading because of the stories. There's a lot more depth to it. I feel like in the lyrical content too. It's very dark. It's very political. Probably their most political album, I think, in a way.
I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
What I like about Rancid is that you can, any kind of mood you're in, they've got an album for you.
And this is what you're thinking. You listen to Life Won't Wait when you're thinking.
If I'm having a bad day, I can throw this record on, it'll change my whole shit, dude. Like, what I think is funny is that like 6 years after this came out, Green Day tried to make one like this, and it got more acclaim and it sold more records, but I don't think it's the same quality when they did American Idiot.
You're talking about American Idiot?
Yeah, because I feel like that like if you could parallel the bands at all, I think that's when Green Day did something that was like this, is with that album. But it's like, man, Rancid already did this with this like big spectacular record that took some risks and like was political, and
they're Green Day did opera.
Green Day did it later, and it's like man, Rancid did that 6 years ago, fellas. Not that there's anything wrong with Green Day doing it whenever they wanted to do it. Like, they're different bands, but I remember when Green Day came out with American Idiot, I remember thinking like, oh, this is like their version of Life Won't Wait. I know it's a very weird comparison to make because they don't have like ska tracks on it.
I love American Idiot because of like Jesus Suburbia is like 15 minutes long, and it's funny because like it is the vibe though of Life Won't Wait. I understand where that connection. Absolutely, how you made that connection. I had no idea where you were going there for a second. I was like, when did they release a Life Won't Wait? I was like trying to like make it make sense to the way it makes sense to me in my head. Yeah, it makes total sense now. And here's another thing on that same sort of thread. It's like their ska. If you say it's like their ska record, it's funny because there's a lot less, I would say, Operation Ivy on this record than there was on the previous records as well. I don't consider this their ska record at all. That would be probably. I don't really consider them having ska records. Do they have like a couple of ska songs? But they're like not really a ska band. They're you think on the ska spectrum though, what this would be the furthest But I don't know. I'm trying to think because it's almost
No, if I had to pick a record that
well,
had
no,
the most
would
ska,
be
I would.
was it Wolves?
Yeah, it'd have to be.
Because all the hits on Wolves, like they're all
That's supposed
ska
to say
songs.
Time Bomb
Yeah.
specifically, like just because of
So,
Time Bomb, like
even Ruby Soho was a ska song, like all the
yeah, and then
kind
like
of beat
and then
and
like
rhythm,
the old it's kind of a ska song.
all the Matt Freeman stuff is all ska, like it's all ska. Yeah, that's the specials plus punk is Outcome the
I
Wolves.
wish I could have been around them just to sit and watch while they were creating Life Won't Wait.
This feels more like, and I don't know this, like I said, it could have been Tim controlled or Tim and Matt being like, okay, we didn't quite do Dance Hall Crashers. Let's find a version of that to do within Rancid. Because really, like Dance Hall Crashers,
I don't think it was that.
was supposed to be like the Rocksteady album, you know what I mean? Or,
Yeah, but I
and
don't
then now
think it
you
was
have
like
dubstep.
intentional. I think they just sat down and wrote music because that's what this sounds like, dude. Because it's so weird and eclectic. I think that they were just like, hey, I want to try this sound, and then they wrote a song around it. Hey, let's try this, and then they wrote a song around it. Hey, I got this topic I want to cover. It just doesn't sound like they did anything. It sounds very organic. That's the word I was looking for. It sounds organic from front to back, and I don't think that going, let's go make a Dance Hall Crashers type of album would have been organic at all. That would have been forced, in my opinion.
Here's what's funny about it. It's also pre-Rancid 2000, which gave the band a bit of a reputation as a different type of band than they actually were. Yeah. So think about how they're even thought of in like mainstream culture when Wolves comes out. You know what I mean? Not by people like who would have been you and I, but just by like your brother who worked at the radio station or something like that.
Yeah.
You probably don't even really, but I'm saying if you heard Rancid, you're not really interacting with them. Punk rock is not what you're thinking of straight out of hand. If you're guy watching 120 minutes who's just like, that I'm talking about a more generic person who would have found the Outcome the Wolf songs because of how big that album got. If you heard Life Won't Wait, it would make sense to you, right? That would be their next album.
Yeah, I guess so.
Versus the person like you or I who comes up with Operation Ivy and then Let's Go. And then now we have the context of 2000. And it's like, no, Rancid and punk are so synonymous. If you are, so there's even maybe a negative reading, which I don't think is the case. Like, oh, did they think they were going to get rich because they got so much acclaim off of some of the ska they put on Wolves? I don't think so. They treated themselves as rock stars because it's an indulgent album, the way like Metallica makes the Black Album and there's 300 different bass tracks on the one song. That was kind of what they did here. Again,
they probably had an indulgent album.
Yeah, I think so. It's their longest album. It's got their most different stuff they have, right? Like compare that to like what they just put out a few months ago, where that's just some guitars and some drums. They're bringing in horns. They're bringing in all these guests.
Yeah, but I don't think it's indulgence. I think it's risk taking.
But it doesn't go with the kind of minimalism that Rancid does on all their other stuff, right? Rancid pares stuff down on all their other albums, with the exception of Life Won't Wait. Yeah,
because I think of Dominoes not like that. I don't think of Indestructible like that. Those are very unique albums with lots of different sounds,
a lot of production. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think on the spectrum, though,
and I also see what you're saying too. I think it's kind of in the middle somewhere.
This one feels like the most. I know you said they didn't set out to plan it. Maybe they didn't, but there's like a lot of planning though into these songs. I think clearly. I don't know.
Well, there's definitely like orchestrated sounds. Like it wasn't like they just
yes.
Yeah.
I think that's more of what I'm saying. Whereas all their other albums, they felt you could tell me that this version did not start out as punk rock songs, and I would believe you. Versus the other albums, and I know Tim just writes everything on an acoustic, so
I was gonna say that none of their songs really start out as punk rock songs necessarily,
but I think like you could see the skeletons a little clearer, where it's like, Rancid kind of punked up these songs, which could have been these songs in the hands of another band could have been a completely different type of album. I think it is still that punk rockness of Rancid to give you Blood Clot and New Dress in 1998.
I think you're probably right about that.
To sort of hammer it all in. And then the last song. Can we just talk about the last song where Lars is just shouting people out like it's a hip hop record from 1998? I love it. I've listened to that so many. So speaking of Sublime, the first time I ever heard that was the end of the 40 Ounce of Freedom record, where Bradley just does that, and that's where he shouts out Bad Religion. And I've listened to that 1,000 times, and I've listened to this. I love when bands do it, and when they have like the charisma of a Lars to kind of hold your attention as he's shouting out all the people that are featured on the album. It's like the credit section of an album, but the audible version.
I hate to cut this short. I do got to run here in a minute. Let's go over each of our lists individually real quick. Okay. This has been a long podcast, which normally would be amazing, and I love the long ones. But I do have to run to the store before they close because it's kind of an important purchase. I got to buy a washing machine because ours is on the fritz. I know, dude. It's all right. I built my wife a new table in the washroom today, and I fixed the dryer. So I'm looking really good right now. I want to go knock this out the park, get that washer, and make my wife super, super thrilled, man. That's my lady, dude. I want to make her happy. Okay, so what are your top 5 albums from 1998, sir?
So, God damn it. Let's talk about Feelings.
Wait, hold on. Who say the band and then the title of the album, sir?
God damn it by Alkaline Trio. Let's talk about Feelings by Lagwagon. Hitler Bad, Vandals Good by the Vandals. Less than Rockview. Welcome to Rockview by Less Than Jake.
Less Than Rockview.
And Life Won't Wait by Rancid. Glad I didn't say Life Won't Rancid because I was on that track.
Less Than Rockview by Hello Jake.
Get the shirt. Yeah.
Dude, that would be a cool shirt. All right, my top 5 records from 1998 are The Unseen, Lower Class Crucifixion, Dropkick Murphys, Do or Die, excuse me. What was the third one that I had? One Man Army, Dead End Stories is probably my favorite out of the year in hindsight. Then we have Less Than Jake, Hello Rockview, and Rancid, Life Won't Wait. It's very, very, very close between Life Won't Wait and Dead End Stories. I think it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm more somber, I want to hear Life Won't Wait. If I'm feeling like throwing on some sunglasses and driving down the road, I'm going to put on Dead End Stories.
I think I have
Wait,
Life
let's
Won't
say Dead
Wait.
End Stories. Is it Dead End Stories or is it...
It's got to be Dead End Stories because they've only got 3.
Yeah, it is Dead End Stories. I'm tripping, dude.
See, and I would have Life Won't Wait. I think over time it's held its position. I think as like it's a S tier as he would do in tiers, and then everything else comes below. Recently, I would, and then God damn it would be the one I would have right under it.
Yeah,
and then everything else could kind of put in the soup and figure it out.
The MXPX record, Murder City Devils, the Gadgets, Dillinger 4, Against All Authority.
We didn't even talk about some good stuff, yeah.
Dude, there's like we could do a whole nother version of this video, but yeah, dude, I think that yeah. I don't know what you want to talk about next week, but
no effects, right? We're gonna do a No Effects album.
Okay, I knew we had it already figured out. Yeah. Okay, so next, what topic are we gonna cover?
Well, we're doing the No Effects album ranking, right?
So we're doing so we're ranking all of their albums, or are we doing like a top 5?
No, we're doing like a top 5.
Okay, that's way better, I think.
They have way too many albums for each.
I was gonna say, I was like, dude, we might start this at like noon and end at midnight. Yeah. Okay, in a few weeks, I would like to do like a top 10 combined, mine and yours, I guess top 5 essentially. Top 10 with the 2 of us, punk rock record labels.
Okay.
Just because I think that'd be a fun conversation.
Yeah, and I think we'll have a lot of different ones, but we'll get to talk about a lot of labels.
That's what I was thinking, is that we could talk about all these, and that one we might have to start at like 6:30 if we can, 6 o'clock if there's a way to do it. Yeah, because that's probably gonna be a long video.
It'll be kind of a history lesson, I think, for both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna know more about it than I do. My memory's bad enough to where I remember things, but I don't remember details. So
yeah.
But dude, this has been a freaking awesome podcast, man. I had so much fun with you, dude.
This was a blast. This is probably the fun. Like, we had deeper conversations. This was the most, like, so many hot takes I think we just threw out there.
It was just so much
meaningful
fun.
Hot takes, but it was because we were in the spirit and it was fun.
Yeah, well, lots of laughing, lots of good times, and that's what we're all about over here on both of our channels. Is entertainment, but also doing it and having a good time. Because if you're not enjoying yourself, why are you here? That would suck, man. So, but man, if you haven't already done so, go check out his channel, The Punk Aughts. Go check out my podcast with Pete Parada. Good grief, dude. I just can't talk today. Looks like I got Brian from Death Before Dishonor coming on pretty soon. I should have Catbite on pretty soon. A lot of stuff I'm working on, man. I'm working really hard to bring really good guests to the channel and just talk. I just did one with my buddy Rob To Live from Will to Live fame. It looks like we're going to have some more Houston guys on pretty soon too. So, yeah, man, thank you for watching the channel and the videos. I appreciate it. I'll have a whole bunch of little clips on this one. I haven't done clips in a while, bro. It's been a hot minute since I've done a bunch of clip videos from our podcast.
It's gonna be fun from this one. So we
dude,
we have a good Charlotte clip we just made.
I wrote that down because I was like, this is gonna make people so mad, and it's gonna be so funny. Yes. Yeah. Also, the No Effects one should do pretty well, I would imagine, with clips, and the record label one, dude. The next few videos that we do are probably gonna be really good for clips. I'll send you this one tomorrow. I'm assuming you got the video from the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. I'm trying to stay on top of it. I know you're probably just stockpiling this stuff, but I'm trying to stay on top of it. So at least you have the content to do with what you want.
I'm just looking for an open weekend, and I'm gonna start putting this up as like just podcasts.
Well, if there's any way that I can help with anything, let me know.
Yeah, I will for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for watching. We love you guys. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channels, both of them. Save them, dude. Share them, clip them. I don't give a shit, man. Let's just be an awesome community. Have a nice day. Peace.
Bye.